I'm Phil Holton. I'm very pleased to welcome you to my woodturning shop. And one of the things that I want to tell you about is a little bit why mine is a Norwegian woodturning shop. I'm 100% Norwegian, grew up in northern Iowa, and I'm proud of my tradition. The many craftsmen, silversmiths, woodworkers, carvers in my tradition. Certainly one of the things that moved me to be a woodturner. My dad is a weaver and a carver. My mother makes circle rugs, quilts. And so I want to welcome you to my Norwegian woodturning shop. One of the reasons that a lot of Norwegians, Swedes, Finns, Russians, Baltic Republic people are woodturners is because they live in a land with lots of wood. You might call it wood culture. So it means their religion, it means that their way of life, the way they build, has a lot to do with wood. I have a wonderful book called Norwegian Wood that tells about how the ideal of a Norwegian person would be to live in a wooden cave. And in a way, my shop here is a little bit of a wooden cave in that there's kind of wood in every direction, and it means that there's some warmth there, and those original places didn't have many windows, so they were dark like a cave too. But I like my place here because it's very comfortable no matter what kind of weather. And then I like to surround myself with beautiful things in wood. So some of them I've showed before. I'm going to show one thing that actually is metal, and this is Norwegian runic letters that would say "Velkommen," welcome. So welcome to my shop. And you see it's on a Viking ship, which is another piece of wood that it's pretty famous. But then all sorts of the articles that would be in a Norwegian home would be made of wood. Here's a drinking cup. Here is a bread bowl that has a Norwegian prayer carved around the outside edge. So turners and carvers kind of like to work together there. As I showed you in one program before, a lot of my bowls are used by rose maulers. So I've got the rose mauling bowls of 3 different rose painters, and it's really celebrating plants and outdoor sorts of things, nature, which would surround the home of a Norwegian person. One of the things that I also showed you in another program is about my krinsakaka. And these are trees based on what is a Scandinavian wedding cake, but they are in the shape of a tree because along with the tree shape and the rings, they wish for a married couple that they would have a life together that would be eternal. That's what the tree are about. And I make them in different sizes, so you can see kind of a medium-sized tree, a tiny little tree right here, and bigger trees. And it would be very, very typical in a Norwegian home with cake to put a Norwegian flag. Another item that Norwegians like to make that are sometimes turned and carved together would be an ale bowl. So they would drink ale, and this is one that I've turned entirely that has horses at either end. This is one that was turned and then carved that's a hen, but a beautiful piece that was done by Becky Lusk from Wisconsin. Another thing that would have been very important in a Norwegian home would have been fine goblets. And this would be for drinking good wine, perhaps. And for a special occasion, they would use a burl. They would find a burl to turn from, not just a regular straight piece of wood. And when I visited Norway on several occasions, they just love to show really unusual wood, like this burl right here. So this is the sort of thing that many of my bowls would be made of, would be a burl like that, a lump, a cancerous tumor on a tree. And so they would just delight in the very quirky kind of grain that would come from one of these pieces. Another thing that they like to do, carving. This is a little bit of carving that I've done. That would be maybe to put a photograph or something in there. This is mixed with some really nice chip carving. So this is a friend of mine that has, we did the turning, and then he did the chip carving. That would be a very, very common Scandinavian thing. So we like to be partners with painters and carvers to do different things. Now, I've been working in my shop since you were here last, and so I've done some cupboards. For one thing, I was kind of embarrassed because my junk showed when you came to my shop. I've been working, and I was very interested to look at some old pictures of Norwegian lofts and houses, staburs, and they very often in what they call stave construction, so they might have lots of logs, but then in the place that was often in a balcony or a front porch or something, then they would do cutouts. Sometimes you see something like this on people's porch rails, that they do something like this. But it's a little bit like paper dolls in that you take two pieces of wood and you lay them back to back like this, and then you just cut out one half of it and open it up again. And one of the things that's very interesting about these, they look much like a turned piece. So even though it's flat, it looks a lot like a turned piece. So they're kind of like fleur-de-lis, kind of flower sorts of arrangements, more like vases, maybe a spindle. Here are some little bit different kind of pieces that are done a little bit different way, but they just delight in showing wood with all sorts of different designs. Here are a couple things more like shamrocks and hearts. So they just delight in working with wood, making it as interesting as possible. I also did a little treatment on my cupboards. In my shop, I've got red and yellow around quite a few places, and I just thought I'd kind of jazz up my wooden cabinets there by adding some color to them. I'm going to just walk over here so I can show you a couple more pieces here that show some more cutouts, different kinds of cutouts here. And here, this is from Finland. This is actually a sauna handle that someone gave to me. So you see that's turned as well. So in any of those countries, you would see lots of turning. And it's been exciting for me to kind of discover that heritage of mine, and it's kind of led me into being a wood turner, discovering how to turn bowls. That's really my primary thing. But also, I do some shows alongside different carvers, and we like to, I've learned a lot from them about how to turn. So this is a platter that I make. I'm going to show you this in a future show. It would be a very typical thing that some good Norwegian bread would be made in. So I want to continue to show you the hospitality of a Norwegian shop and a Norwegian house when you come to visit my shop. As you celebrate Christmas or other times, when you think about the tree, I want you to think about why we have a Yuletide tree at Christmas time, because we all have connections to this wood culture, and I hope you'll celebrate with me in a kind of Northern European wood culture way this coming season. And do come and visit me at my website, philholton.com. You can see more stories about this, and thanks so much for coming to visit me in my wood turning shop, my Norwegian wood turning shop.